Díomh lá Féile Pádraig Chunnaíomh. Hello and happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. My name is Leanne. I am one of the 4 co-hosts of the Irish Readathon, and today I'm going to be telling you about all of the Irish books on my TBR. Now, when I talk about a TBR, it is books that I actually own. When some people talk about their TBR, it's just books that they would like to get to one day. If it's a book that I don't own, I have it on what's called a wish list. And if I get the chance to, I may do a video on that later this month, although we are running out of days in this month. My TBR is books that I actually own, be it physically or on an e-reader. I am going to whiz through the books that are on my TBR for the Irish Readathon. I just wanted to have the chance to talk about some of the books that I haven't got on my TBR this month as well. But the ones that I do plan on getting to by the end of this month, if I can, are Solar Bones by Mike McCormick. This was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, and it is a book that is told entirely in one sentence. Decrescendo by Jerry Brennan, which I believe has a beautiful lyrical writing style. Frog Music by Emma Donoghue, which is a piece of historical fiction that's set in San Francisco in 1876. Carnivalesque by Neil Jordan, which I believe is about a carnival, and it is got a lot of fantasy elements to it, and it features a hall of mirrors. And A Line Made by Walking by Sarah Baum, which I believe is about a young woman who goes to live in the countryside, even though she's a massive city girl, and it's about her getting back into photography. One book that I didn't have on my TBR, but I will probably get to it by the end of the month because it's quite a short one, is Snobs, Dogs and Scobies by Elizabeth O'Hara, who I've actually known in the past as Eilish Ní Shubhna. But this is about 3 teenagers who have very different lives. I think it's set in Dublin. It's definitely set in Ireland, and it's about these 3 teenagers that are, the only thing they have in common is the leaving cert, until an accident changes everything. I also have The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy by Lawrence Stern. When I hauled this book, I really struggled to say the name as well, but this was written in the 1700s, and it's a piece of satire, and it's meant to be really experimental and explore the limitations of fiction. I just didn't feel like picking up something that heavy this month, so I'm probably not going to get to it by the end of March. There are a few Irish books that I've got at home at my mum's house, and I probably would have thought about picking them up if I had access to them, but don't you worry, kids, because the Irish Readathon's happening again next year. I feel like we mentioned that in passing. I hope that's actually happening now. I've said it on camera. But one of those books on my TBR is Gulliver's Travel by Jonathan Swift. I've read A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift before, which is another piece of satire, and I thought that was a lot of fun. I'm sure you have a rough idea about what Gulliver's Travels is. It is the story of a man who becomes shipwrecked, and he ends up on an island that is inhabited by a lot of small people. This was written in the 1700s as well, and I think it would be a really great classic to get to one day. Another physical book on my TBR that I have left at my mum's house is The Little Red Chairs by Edna O'Brien. This is about what happens when a man who calls himself a faith healer arrives in a small west of Ireland community and gets the whole community under his spell. Next up we have The Forgotten Waltz by Anne Enright, and I have read 2 of her books before, The Green Road and The Gathering. This one is set in Terenure, which is a suburb of Dublin. It's set in the winter of 2009, and it's about a woman named Gina recalling the affair that she once had with a man named Sean, and many years later the arrival of Sean's 12-year-old daughter into Gina's life. I also have a short story collection called New Irish Short Stories, which is edited by Joseph O'Connor. And yeah, this is just a collection of Irish short stories, highlighting this form as a vibrant and thriving within the Irish literary community. I also have Tickling the English by Dara O'Brien. You may know Dara O'Brien as being a comedian. He's on Mock the Week. And this is basically a book about English culture and English people from the perspective of an Irish person. And when I moved to the UK, although I moved to Wales, not England, I thought this would be a really fun book to pick up, but I just haven't got round to it. And I also have a poetry collection called Playing the Octopus by Mary O'Malley. This is her 9th collection, moving between 2 landscapes, the west of Ireland and the east coast of America. I don't read a whole lot of poetry that's about geography, so I think this would be a really fun one for me to pick up and try something a little bit new. Another physical Irish book on my TBR is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is a fantasy book that has been on my TBR for ages, and it is about a 12-year-old boy who is dealing with the loss of his mother. He finds refuge and comfort in the books on his shelves, but this becomes very real when his books transport him into the fantasy world contained between the pages. We also have Brooklyn by Colm Tóibín, which I spoke about in my recent historical fiction haul. This is about a girl who emigrates to America in order to form a new life there. She lives in a small town in Ireland originally, and there's just a lack of opportunities for her there. When she moves to America, she forges a new life for herself, but tragedy brings her back to Ireland. I've actually already seen the film of this one, but I've not read the book, and I would be really interested to see how the two compare. I also have Holding by Graham Norton. You may know Graham Norton as the host of the Graham Norton chat show. But this is set in the small, remote Irish village of Duneen, and I think it is a crime novel. I think it's based around a murder, and it explores the complexities of human nature. I also have Nothing Tastes as Good by Claire Hennessy, and this is a YA book about grief and eating disorders, although I'm not sure if I'm actually ever going to read this one because I have heard a number of disappointing things about how this author conducts herself in terms of engaging with diverse literature, and also how she responds to negative reviews of her work. So yeah, I'm going to gloss over that one. I also have a book that I haven't even hauled yet, but a sneak little glimpse into one of my future hauls is Oh My God, What a Complete Aisling by Emer McLysaght and Sarah Breen. And I don't know a huge amount about this book other than I think it's being turned into a film. I've heard of a lot of amazing things, and in my head, it's like Bridget Jones' Diary, but Irish. And finally, I have a non-fiction book, and that is Making It Up As I Go Along by Marian Keyes. I have never actually read any Marian Keyes books, but I know that I really love her as a person from like seeing her on TV and following her on Twitter. And all I really know about this book is that it's like a collection of anecdotes and observations and just Marian navigating her way through her daily life. I think this is going to be a really fun one to get to, and Marian is always really funny whenever I see her on TV, so I'm sure her book will be the same. Okay, so I think that's it. I think they are all of the Irish books that I've yet to get to on my TBR. Something else that is unrelated to this video really that I did want to mention quite quickly is that I received some really exciting news today. And that is that my poem, What a State the State Is In, which I uploaded onto my YouTube channel earlier on this month, I'll leave it linked down below as well, is going to be published in the Chevelle anthology. I think that's how you pronounce it. But this is a really phenomenal anthology of young writers in Wales. I've been living in Wales since 2014. I will tell you guys more info when I know it's coming out. I'll let you know where you can buy it if you would be interested in buying it. But it's an anthology of poetry and short stories. It is published by Parthian. And yeah, I wanted to mention it here because I'm very excited. This is the first time that I have been published in something outside of a university publication. So yeah, I'm very excited. Anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about today. Do let me know if I have spoken about any books that you are interested in, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.